I fi tele lava nei tai ao se fa no fo mo le radio Samoa o fa fa no mai le fionga le time le fionga fa pule mo le tuma lo Takanini Dr. Anae Neru Leavasa ia mo tara po kalame fa tele lava no fionga Dr. mo le no nei tai ao ma lo lava so fu ia fi mai tara po kalame. Good morning.
Good morning, ma lora se fua fatai mo le avanoa fatai ma fatalo fatui tatou tangata Samoa tangata Pasifika fa fonga mai. Thank you for the opportunity. Apologies, I'm not the minister, but I guess I'm the step-in.
Yeah, malo fa tele lava ia le lei Dr. fa mo le vanga mo mori youth vaping o te lo tasi le vanga ma senata no ma fionga ia in Minsta ia Barbara o le afianga o tatu tangata Pasifika o te lo lava lo silfia il tulanga le fa mo le o se tulanga le lei on va ai ma ia New Zealand mo le vai o ta so fu ma lo ino tatu tangata talvo ma tangata fo New Zealand.
So leo me tau ai lava o tatu tamaiti tangata Pasifika for as you know, the minister announced this week the new regulations for mawhainga, Kurabakule youth vaping rates. We see that there's an increase in the rates of using it. So it's really important, to bring these regulations in to make sure that we're reducing the use among our youth. And part of the measures that's being released is making sure that new vaping shops are away from our maraes, away from our schools. So there's a regulation there to have it located 300 meters away from schools and maraes. The other things to put in there as well was to remove the cheap vapes, disposable vapes. So that way, because access is one of it. So reducing that measure. The other thing too is the appeal. So you would have seen that many of our vaping stores, they put on cotton candy advertisements or those sort of names that try to entice our youth in using it. So those are the three main measures that will help reduce the vaping use, because again we hear it from families, we hear it from youth themselves, that kids are rocking up to school as young as 7 years old, and teachers are having to confiscate the vapes. So this is a really important measure in order to make sure our youth are growing healthily in their journey.
Okay, Doctor, tele lava mo le manaya le so me foi. I mean, mai pe lau advice because tilo tamai televo. Me se tamai tia ongo to tela na to fa ngai nan vaping. What's your advice for le wale fa mai matu na nei tai o se mele le mo tamai ti tato Samoa mal Pasifika le fe ngai ma onga pe. I mean, stay away from le foi mai mo le mo la to lumana ya.
Yeah, I think first of all, we have to make the distinction for your the cigarettes, tobacco, and then coming on to using vapes as a measure to stop smoking. So that's one part of where vapes are useful for that journey of quitting smoking. But we've seen a lot of youth, they jump straight onto the vapes, and we've heard from youth that they say this is the new version of tobacco for our kids. So if it's their first time using vapes and they haven't been smoking, it's not a good idea. The research out there, it's still not finalized in terms of the long-term issues. The vapes, one side says, it's going to cause a lot of lung issues in the future. Other people say, the research says it's not conclusive. But anything that's not fresh air going into your lungs is no good. So I think memo more lava for our kids. Don't go using vapes if that's the first thing you're going to be using. Please stay away. Because again, it's no good having foreign things going into your body.
Okay, Dr. Lesila vanga mai le tua le malo fole le te tau le stula fono le malo puipuia mai ia whanau le whangai no vaping whabul mo.
Yeah, so that's why the vaping regulations came in because it's already been consulted on. We've had many of the feedback from the community come in. And this is the process from when we brought in last year the new smoking law regulation. The smoking law was to reduce the nicotine in cigarettes, Lysimia, bring down the outlets. So there was about 6,000 outlets that are selling tobacco, bring it down to around 500 outlets, and also having a smoke-free generation. So that means that if you are born at a certain age, and I think it's by next year, that's if you're 18 and under, you're not going to be able to use tobacco. It won't be sold to anyone in that new generation. So that means a smoke-free generation. You've got less tobacco outlets and a reduction in nicotine. Therefore, the addiction goes down as well. So that was one part, and now the vaping part put together, hopefully that will make a difference.
Okay, lo fiang al pule Dr. Anae Neru Leavasa nei taimel tai au tata no I so swani o tu na mai malo bang ho onga fa mul mole a mai sia tata na Pacifica, so Pacifica bilingual immersion teaching allowances, introduction of cultural leadership allowance, lalo sit fia o se bang le tele mo tatu dengan Samoa mal Pacifica.
Yeah, it's really important. So many of the concerns my Pacifica, they've fed back into that the concerns they had to the government. So this new, whether it be the pay agreements, the conditions improvements, these are all things that our Tangata Pacifica were lobbying the government for. So it's great to see the cultural allowance being put in, because I think for everyone, whether it be Mea Maoli, Mea Pacifica, it's really good to understand the cultural lens. So when they're teaching, so thank you to the teachers that brought that up, and it's great to see the agreement that has been made between the ministry and also our teachers. So it's good. I see that the conditions for it to release double the release time from the classes for our teachers, and it's good that our Pacific teachers will be able to have that time to work on things for their classes, but also go and help their colleagues as well in terms of that cultural allowance to provide for that.
Okay, alam fiang al pule Dr. Anae Neru Leavasa. Olen bawa lo lang mai le palemio fiti itono New Zealand, fai fon tanga mal palemio New Zealand o ani vai ngata wa lo sirfia sa taranoi le fai fon tanga fa mo.
Yeah, I think it's really important we continue bilateral talks and strengthening relationships between whether it be Fiji that came with Prime Minister Rabuka or Samoa and so forth. So it's good to see Prime Minister Chris Hipkins meet with the Fiji Prime Minister. They spoke about a range of topics, two important ones, all the economic developments in the island, also security matters, but also climate change. It's really important we acknowledge the relationship with our Pacific. Fiji has a strong relationship with New Zealand. It's the fifth most biggest Pacific nation here in Aotearoa. We have our Fiji Language Week in October, so we acknowledge that relationship with them, and because of that relationship, Naua Kamerakule, Sukasi Mlionga for the climate support for Fiji. So, that just deepens our relationship with Fiji.
Okay, lo fengal fai pule manua le wesa no tu langa le Fijian Language Week left time mai atul ta tu Samoan Language Week alva so tu nei mita la ngana ma wa ai lo fasi no manga ele mai pe manua le mo le no langa tempo mo le kan ta tu no ai mai lo finanga lo fole le ta ua wa te lo nei fole fai tau ta langa malaunga nei fanau ia 7 and ia 8 Sutton Park School le ta ua le ta tu ngana fole le tono a onga anai fanau ia fa pena fo ita tu tono New Zealand.
So our journey, still learning the Samoa for New Zealand born, but last week was a really important week. Also not only the language week, but the independence for 61st independence celebration. So it was great to see most of the schools celebrating, especially Laua Pikungu i Takanini. Kele aonga ma kameki lai o, celebrate akule language week. So it's the biggest Pacific grouping in New Zealand. It's the third most spoken language in New Zealand. So really important, and it was great to see the celebrations.
Okay, sorry to ask you this, but 4 months away from election, Margo Woods Male Isholo to my foilele, Ele Tulangalontofi Minster, Itono Palmene, Maltulanga shares Le Auckland Airport, Onalo Shifia, Ose Tulanga Le Telemole Fanga Malole Labor, or Aloatumol Fanga Palota, or Lassa Impact, Levanga Ile Tulanga Itangata, Palota Mole Labor, Fanga Palota, general lecture.
I think Mr. Michael Wood, he's already acknowledged and apologized. That was an oversight on his part. And he's been a hardworking minister across his portfolios. So it's really sad to see it, but he's already acknowledged. And leading up to the election, I think people are more focused on the issues that face New Zealand, the cost of living issues, things that hits them in the pocket when it comes to fuel. So that's the things that we're focused on now. That you may have heard it many times, the bread and butter issues. So yes, this can be a distraction, but I think New Zealand are focused on those real issues.
Okay, before I let you go, Dr. Lele, 4 months away from my general election, or Milo to Malo, or Anivanga for Malu to Malo, a town at Pena Emole, Palota Family.
Yeah, so Takanini or Fasu Kasipasenge or Asia, Nata Asia. So Gelede in Kia, Masenga, European 31 and Pacifica 21%. So it's looking good. I'm the first MP there in Takanini. It's the newest electorate in New Zealand. So I think we've done a good job in supporting Takanini in this first term, and I'm running again to cement and continue the work and progress that we've made in Takanini. So anyone who's out there, please support. Thank you.
Dr. Anae Neru Leavasa, thank you so much for Tele Lava Moltami Mol Radio Samoa and for time. Well, to see a telling statement to tell Noi, but we level 5 so thank you so much, Moltami Later.
Thank you, Fafte.
Lele. Level Pula Takanini, Dr. Anae Neru Leavasa, and if I tell to Radio Samoa for Lima, Eba Tolu Amo.